Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Current Affair Analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, 12th August 2025. Before getting into the discussion, please make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time update from Shankar IAS Academy. And also the MCQ, the questions related to the current affair analysis will be discussed in the evening at 5 o'clock. So please do attend and give your maximum participation. Now, if all set, we will begin our discussion by introducing the topics. So the topics for the discussion are Asiatic Lion. So recently there was a survey in the May, and as per the survey, there is an increase in the population of Asiatic Lion in the state of Gujarat. And the second article is about earthquake in Turkey because the western part of Turkey experienced an earthquake with a magnitude of 6.1. And the next article is about India-ASEAN trade development because we can see that recently the India and the ASEAN, the officials are coming together to discuss and review the India-ASEAN trade in goods agreement, which was signed in 2009 and came to force in 2010. And the next article is about the health insurance because we can see that recently due to the medical inflation, there is a hike in the health insurance premium. And the next article is about the unified welfare state. This article is taken from Indian Express, and this article is discussing the fragmented nature of the Indian welfare system and how this unified welfare state will address this. So without much delay, let's begin our discussion with the first article. India has set an example in lion conservation. Bhupendra Yadav. The article is taken from The Hindu. So recently, there was a census in the state of Gujarat, and as per the census, there is an increase in the population of the Asiatic lion. And considering this significant development, the Bhupendra Yadav, the Union Minister for Environment, congratulated the Gujarat government and also the Malgri community living inside the Gir forest traditionally. So in this background, let us discuss more about this news article. So first we will start with the Asiatic lion or Panthera leopersica. So coming to the habitat distribution. So currently they are restricted to the Gir forest and in the state of Gujarat, but historically they were once found in the West Asia, Middle East and much of India, but later its population got declined due to infection, climate change and also hunting and poaching. And coming to the conservation status, it is considered as endangered under the IUCN Red List, and currently in India it is protected under the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, Schedule 1. It offers highest level of protection. And coming to the CITES, it is categorized under Appendix 1, which strictly bans the international trade of this animal. And coming to the estimated population of the Asiatic lion, so in the census of May month, you can see that there is an increase of the Asiatic lion population. So in the past, comparing with the past 5 years, there is an increase from 674 to 891. And coming to the major threats faced by the Asiatic lion population, first is a small population size, because we can see that the climate change is one of the major factors that is affecting the all living organism on this planet. And coming to the case of lions, they are at the risk of epidemics, especially the canine distemper virus. So this is a virus which does not have any specific cure. So the most effective way to manage this virus is vaccination. So once this virus not only infects the lion, it infects the wolf, it infects dogs, and it infects all major canine animals. And this virus, once it infects the animal, it will lead to it will attack the nerve system, respiratory system, and eventually the animal will die. And coming to the next major threat is the man-animal conflict, because we can see that due to the increase in the human settlement, due to the expansion of the human settlement, now we are coming in direct contact with the wild animal. And at the same time, we can see that because of this changes, the prey of the animal will also migrate to some other parts. This will lead to lack of food. And what happens in this case, the carnivorous animals like a lion will come for livestock, and this will result into man-animal conflict. And the next is the habitat loss and fragmentation. The major reason is the developments, climate change, lack of food, and at the same time the intraspecies conflicts. And the next is poaching. So that means hunting down the animals for their body parts. For example, in the case of lion, sometimes they will hunt the animal for teeth or its nail. So this type of human activities, also leading to decline in the population of the Asiatic lion once. And coming to the ecological importance, like I mentioned, they are carnivorous animal, and they are considered as apex predator that is important for regulating the herbivorous population and maintaining the balance of the grassland ecosystem. And it is an indicator species for the dry deciduous forest. That means if there is a significant fall of the Asiatic lion population, that means the dry deciduous forest ecosystem is having some sort of issue. or it is facing some sort of imbalance. And coming to the major conservation measures, so we can see that recently there was a plan for relocating the animals from that means the Asiatic lion from Gir forest to Kuno National Park in the state of Madhya Pradesh for creating a second ranging population. and and at the same time, you can see that recently the Gujarat government also took a lot of initiatives, including vaccination of the animals for protecting them from the infections like canine distemper virus and all. And at the same time, you can also see that the Gir forest, Gir forest is it is only area where we can find the Asiatic lion, and Gir forest and its surrounding Gir protected area network is also doing their maximum to conserve this Asiatic lion population. And another major thing we have to highlight here is the community participation. For example, the Maldiri community were traditionally residing in this region. That means they are traditionally residing in the parts of Gujarat and Saurashtra. So they because of their custom, they respect the wildlife. They are traditional cattle rearers, but because of their custom, because of their tradition, they respect the wild animals. Even sometimes this lions will eat their cat livestock and all, but still they were tolerant towards this lion population. And the next major initiative that we have to highlight is the Project Lion, which was launched in 2020, which is focusing on scientific habitat management, prey-based augmentation. That means scientifically increasing the prey population to provide more food to the animal. And the next is relocation to alternate habitat. For example, the Kuno National Park we considered recently because it has similar ecosystem to the Gir forest. Therefore, we have a plan of relocating the Asiatic lion from the Kuno National Park for expanding its range. And the next is technology driven monitoring, for example, radio collaring, CCTV. So, but this radio collaring has a issue that is sometimes it can lead to infection. The wearing of this radio collaring can lead to infection around the neck of the animals. Therefore, this is not much preferred. And coming to the Maldiri community, so we have to give a special mention to them because they played a significant role in conserving the Asiatic lion population, because even after eating their livestock, they were tolerant towards lions. And Maldiri means owners of the livestock. So they are inhabiting in the regions of Gir forest in Gujarat, Bani grassland of Kutch and parts of Saurashtra, and they are traditional herders of buffalo, cattle, sheep and goats. So here you can see the Maldiri community, and they played a very good role in conserving not only lion, because of their tradition they have a respect towards the wildlife. So these are the things that we discussed as a part of the news article. So we discussed the basics about the Asiatic lion population and what are the major threats, its conservation status, and what are the recent initiatives brought by the government to conserve the Asiatic lion population. And also we gave a special mention to the Maldiri community. So with this we will move to the next article. One killed, dozens injured as quake hits Western Turkey. The article is taken from the Hindu. So on August 11, 2025, the Balıkesir province, which is located in the western part of Turkey, experienced a devastating earthquake with the magnitude of 6.1. And in this incident, nearly 29 persons got injured and one person died and several structures collapsed. So we know that in 2023 also the southern part of Turkey and the northern Syria experienced an earthquake, and in this incident nearly 55,000 people lost their life. And especially in the recent times, we can see that several areas of the circum-Pacific Ring of Fire is experiencing earthquake. So let us discuss more about this news article. So first we will look into the earthquake in Turkey. So this incident took place on August 10, and the magnitude is 6.1, and it hit the Sindrigi district of the Balıkesir province, which is located in the western part of Turkey, and the Sindrigi district is the epicenter. And coming to the depth, this earthquake is a shallow earthquake with a depth of that means the focus is at 10 to 11 kilometer down. And coming to the major reason, you can see that the Balıkesir province is located in the western part of Turkey, and therefore this is coming under the North Anatolian fault zone. So we will discuss what is this North Anatolian fault zone and its major features. So before that, we will look into the map. So you can see that this province is located in the western part of Turkey, and this North Anatolian fault, this is passing through this region. So, and you can see that Turkey also has another fault, that is East Anatolian fault. So these two major fault in the Turkey is a major reason behind the earthquake in the nation. So coming before getting into the further discussion, we have to know some basics about the earthquake. So you can see that earthquake means the sudden shaking of ground mainly occurs due to the movement of the plates, right? So the point at which the earthquake originates is known as hypocenter or the focus, and the place which first experiences the wave or the tremor or the seismic wave is known as the epicenter. So in this case, the Sindrigi province, the district of Balakesar province is the epicenter, and you can see that two waves will be released once earthquake happens, a body wave and a surface wave. Body wave can be divided into P wave and S wave. P wave can travel through both liquid and solid, while the secondary wave can travel only through solid. And another type of wave released by the earthquake is the surface wave, which is the most disastrous one, right? And moving on to the North Anatolian fault. So you can see that, like I mentioned, the Turkey has two fault, which is a North Anatolian fault and the East Anatolian fault. So before that, we have to understand about the Anatolian plate. So the Turkey is located on this Anatolian plate, and you can see that this Anatolian plate is constantly squeezed by Eurasian plate in the north, Arabian plate in the southeast, and the African plate in the south and the southwest. So this is the major reason. This two fault are the major reason behind the seismic activity in the Anatolian plate. And coming to the North Anatolian plate, which is the reason behind the present earthquake in the Balıkesir province of the western Turkey. So you can see that this Balıkesir province is located in the western end. That is, it is located somewhere here. So it is located somewhere here. So it is located in the western end of the North Anatolian fault. So type, it is a strike slip fault, similar to the San Andreas fault in the state of California in the USA. And coming to the length, it is 1500 kilometer across the northern Turkey, and the movement is mostly horizontal, because we can see that it is a strike slip fault, which is similar to the transform boundary, but there is a small difference between the transform movement and the strike slip fault, because if the movement is happening in the boundary of the plate, then it is known as transform boundary. But this strike slip fault, it can happen within the plate or it can happen anywhere outside the plate. So this is a major difference. So in another way, simply we can say that this transform boundary is a subtopic of the strike slip fault. And you can see that this slip rate is coming around 20 to 25 millimeter per year. And coming to the historical seismic activity in this region, you can see that in 1939, Erzincan earthquake happened with a magnitude of 7.8. This resulted into death of nearly 30,000 people. And in 1999, Izmit. So Izmit is another region located in the western part. So here also an earthquake happened with a magnitude of 7.6, and that resulted into death of 70,000 people plus. And you can see that this western segment here, you can see many important cities like the Marmara region, as well as the capital, the Istanbul, is also located here. So therefore, if any earthquake or any seismic activity happens here, it can lead to more casualty. So this is the reason. So once again, we will go through the map. So this is the North Anatolian fault, and this is the East Anatolian fault, and this is the Anatolian plate. So this is constantly squeezed by the African plate, Eurasian plate, and Arabian plate, and these two faults are the major reason behind the seismic activity in the Turkey. And you can see that in 2023, the East Anatolian the earthquake in the East Anatolian fault was the major reason behind the earthquake, and that resulted into death of nearly 55,000 people across Turkey and Syria. And in this case, you can see the Balıkesir province, which is located in the near the western end of the North Anatolian plate, is currently hit by the earthquake. So with this, we will move to the next article. India-ASEAN officials to meet beginning August 11 for ASEAN Trade in Goods Agreement review. The article is taken from The Hindu. So we know that on August 7, the US administration imposed a 25% tariff on Indian products, particularly on textile and automobiles. And this is raising a lot of concerns. And considering this type of volatilities, India is now planning to review the ASEAN-India trade in goods agreement. And for this purpose, the Indian officials and the ASEAN officials will be meeting from August 11 to 14 to discuss and review the ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement. So let us discuss more about this news article. So first we will begin with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, which was founded on 8th August 1967 based on Bangkok Declaration, and this is an organization of the Southeast Asian nations, right? And you can see that once the Southeast Asian nations all were colonized by various colonial powers, and they faced a lot of socio-economic injustice under their rule. So reviving the Southeast Asian nations is the major objective of the Southeast Asian Nation Association of Southeast Asian Nations. And you can see that the current members includes Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And the secretariat of this ASEAN is located in Indonesia, that is in the Jakarta. And the objectives, that is ensuring the political stability, economic growth, regional cooperation, and cultural, socio-cultural integration among the ASEAN nations. And the decision making is based on the concerns of the nations. And coming to the ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement, so it was signed on 13th August 2009 and came to force on 1st January 2010, and the major objective is tariff liberalization. That means 80% of the goods traded will receive tariff liberalization or face the tariff liberalization. That means in every phase the tariff can be liberalized, and it is based on the rule of origin. So this is the rule of origin is regulating the this agreement. So what is mean by rule of origin? So according to this rule of origin, as a minimum value addition is required in the place of origin. For example, imagine that there are three nations: country A, country B, and country C, and this country C will export a bulk of any products, for example toys, to country B, and this country B will give that bulk of toys to country A. So now the confusion is, country A will impose anti-dumping duty on which nation, country B or country C? So to address these type of issues, the rules of origin was brought. So as per the rule of origin, if the product is made in a particular place, then the product has to go through a minimum value addition in the place of origin. For example, India is producing milk, then the milk has to go through a minimum value addition. Then only we can export the milk to ASEAN or any other nation if the rule of origin is there. And imagine that if you are buying the milk from some other nation and giving that to ASEAN, that is not acceptable. That will not receive any benefit. So this is the purpose of the rule of origin. And the issue is currently the ASEAN, nations are misused by the China to route their products to escape from the tariff. And coming to the regional comprehensive economic partnership, so India also considered joining this regional comprehensive economic partnership, which includes ASEAN and other members like Australia, China, Japan, South Korea, and New Zealand. But considering various issues, considering the concerns over the market access, rule of origin, protection for the domestic agriculture and industry, we withdrew from the negotiations on November 2019. So market access, we know that China, they're known for bulk production, right? They produce on larger scale, and this can lead to dumping, and this will affect the domestic markets and products. And the next is rule of origin. So China is also facing the accusation that they are routing the products to escape from the tariff. And the next is protection for the domestic agriculture and the industry. So even in the case of India USA, the one of the major tension is the lack of readiness from the Indian side to open the rural economy. And in the case of in the regional comprehensive economic partnership, we have New Zealand. New Zealand is known for dairy products. So if we are the members of this group, then the New Zealand will they will export larger scale of dairy products into Indian market, and this can affect the rural economy. So considering all these concerns, India withdrew from this association, from the negotiations in 2019 November. But this association was signed in 2020 and came to force in 2022. It is there, and it is the largest free trade bloc in the world in the terms of GDP and population at present. And trade, it covers the goods, services, investment, e-commerce, and intellectual property management. So these are the major provisions under the regional comprehensive economic partnership. So maybe we can consider, in certain way, we can consider joining or aligning with the ASEAN nations in this forum also. But it is not preferable because China is there, New Zealand is there, so they are known for large scale production, and Japan is there, and South Korea and Japan, they are known for technology. They are known for manufacturing of semiconductors and all. So this will also affect our various intentions, like our semiconductor mission, manufacturing mission and all. So we can engage with the ASEAN, but regional comprehensive economic partnership is not much preferable. So in this topic, we discussed ASEAN, the India-ASEAN agreement, trade agreement, and then we also discussed the regional comprehensive economic partnership. So we will get further updates after the meeting. So once the update comes, we will discuss that also. So with this, we will move to the next article. Tackling health cover cost. The article is taken from The Hindu. So recently, the health insurance policy holders are facing a significant problem, that is the rise of renewal premium. So we know that premiums are the amount paid by the insured to keep the policy alive, right? But in the recent times, because of the persisting medical inflation, which is currently standing at 13 to 14%, which is 3 times more than our overall inflation in the economy. Because of the persisting medical inflation, the premium got increased by 40 to 50 times, 50%, and sometimes up to 75%. So in this background, let us discuss more about the health insurance. So coming to the health insurance, it's a contract between the insurer and the insured. So insurer means the company or the organization which is providing the healthcare insurance, and the insured are the people who enrolled into this policy. So what is meant by premium? Premium is the amount paid by the insured to keep the policy active or alive. For example, if there is an insurance policy of 5 lakh rupees, then the healthcare insurer will take care of the healthcare expenditure up to 5 lakh rupees. And to keep this policy alive, the insured has to pay a particular amount once in 2 months or once in 3 months according to various plan, and that amount paid by the insured is known as premium. But because of the but because of the persisting medical inflation in the economy, currently the premium is high. This is the major issue discussed in the article. So what is the major objective of the health insurance? First is reducing out of pocket expenditure. So we know that up to 5 lakh rupees the insurer will take care. So it will reduce the immediate out of pocket expenditure for the families. And the second is it will improve the accessibility to the healthcare. For example, you can see that in the recent times, especially under the Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat, there is an increased utilization of the private hospitals by the low income families. And the next is protection against the catastrophic health expenses. We know that the pricing practices in hospitals have no regulation, right? It is not uniform, therefore it will increase the procedure cost. So this type of cost can be addressed if we have a proper health insurance. And coming to the major reasons for the rising health insurance premiums, first is the rising medical inflation. Like I mentioned, it is currently standing at 13 to 14%. And the next is increased claims after the COVID-19. So COVID-19 led to more hospitalization and expensive treatments. And the next is growing burden of the lifestyle diseases. So we can see that this lifestyle diseases is one of the major factors which is contributing to over 60% of death directly or indirectly. And the next is the inclusion of more coverage and benefits. So this will increase the cost of the insurer, that is the company. And the next is standardization regulation by the IRDA, that is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. So they are bringing a lot of initiatives to enhance the coverage of the insurance and all, but it will eventually results in increasing the burden on the insurer. So they will increase the premium price. And the next is the aging population. So aging population, they need constant monitoring, they need a long-term treatment, that will eventually increase the premium. And the next, like I mentioned, the pricing practices in the hospitals. So there is no uniformity, right? So there is no uniformity, so this will increase the procedure cost. So ultimately it will bring more burden on the insurer. So insurer has no option, they have to increase the price. So coming to the types of healthcare insurances in India, first is the public health schemes. For example, Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana, which was launched in 2018, which provides 5 lakh coverage for every family, right? And the second is the employees state insurance scheme, which is for the organized workers in the organized sector. And the next is the central government health scheme for the central government employees. And in every state there are state specific schemes. For example, Arogya Sri in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, Bamsha Swasti Bima Yojana for Rajasthan. So every state they have their own insurance policies. And coming to the next, the private sector. So in the case of private sectors, the company or the entity will collaborate with the some insurance company, and they will provide the insurance to the employees, and this will cover the hospitalization and critical illness. And the next is a community based healthcare insurance, and it is a low cost insurance which is often provided by NGOs through various communities. For example, the National Insurance Bima Seva Corporate Limited. And coming to the Ayushman Bharat. So whenever we talk about the health insurance, currently we cannot ignore the Ayushman Bharat, the universal scheme which is launched by the government of India to provide the healthcare, affordable healthcare to everyone in the country. So it was launched in the 2018 under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and it is the world's largest government funded health insurance. And you can see that the major objectives includes the financial protection for the poor families, and against the out of pocket expenditure and the rising healthcare cost. And this will be helpful in achieving the goal number 3 of the sustainable development goals, that is health and well-being for every ages. And coming to the major schemes, the major features includes the 5 lakh coverage per family, and there is no cap on family size, gender or age. And it currently it benefited over 50 crore people in the country, that is nearly 10 crore families. And you can see that coming to the portability, the benefit can be accessed from every part of the country irrespective of any state or territories. And it covers nearly 1949 medical packages including surgery, medical care, medical daycare and follow-up care. And coming to the implementation mechanism, so it is implemented by the National Health Authority at the central level. So coming to the state, so state can adopt any 3 of these methods to implement the policy. For example, they can go with the trust model, where the state health agency will directly implement the insurance policy. And the next is the insurance model, where the state health insurance agency will collaborate with some insurance company, and they will provide the health insurance. And the next is a hybrid. That means it is a mixture of both the insurance model and the trust model. And coming to the funding pattern, so it is a centrally sponsored scheme, which means a state will also contribute. So in most states it is 60:40 ratio, but in the case of northeast and Himalayan states it is 90:10 ratio, and for the union territories without legislature it is 100% funding is from the central government. And coming to the major achievements, over 5 crore hospital admissions worth of rupees 60,000 crore got benefited since its launch, according to the National Health data. And it has strengthened the public health infrastructure. And also you can see that it provides cashless and paperless services to the people who got enrolled into the Ayushman Bharat. And it can be accessed from both government and the private hospitals. And we can see that in the recent times we can see increased utilization of the private hospitals by the low income groups. So these are the major benefits and the achievements under the Ayushman Bharat. So with this, we will move to the next article. Why India needs a unified welfare state? The article is taken from the Indian Express. So we know that welfare state, a state which gives more importance to the welfare and the justice of the people rather than profit. So if we go back to time, we can see that the welfare state concept got popularity in 1917, especially after the Russian Revolution. And we know that after the Russian Revolution, the USSR was established, and the USSR gave more importance to the social justice, equity and welfare. And if you come to 1930s, when the world was suffering from the Great Depression, the policies, the economic frameworks of the USSR, inspired the New Deal policy of USA and the welfare state policy of the UK. And there the world realized the importance of the welfare state. And after independence, India also adopted a welfare state based on the mixed economy model, where the competition will be also there, but it will be regulated by the state. But if you come to 1990s, again we can see the introduction of LPG, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. And India also adopted the LPG. And after, like every state, every state after adopting the LPG, the state will become a minimalist state. That means they will only frame the rules and regulations for regulating the market. And the state will also ensure the socio-economic stability. And India also adopted the same model, but comparing with other nations, India still continued as a welfare state. But there is a problem, that is a fragmentation in the welfare system of the nation. And to address this, according to this article, we need a unified welfare state. So let us discuss more about this. So what is meant by a unified welfare state? It's a governance model where all welfare and the social security schemes are integrated under a single rights-based transparent framework for ensuring universal coverage. What is the goal? Ensuring efficiency, equity, accessibility in welfare delivery by removing duplication and leakages. So we will discuss detail need for the unified welfare state in India. First is the fragmentation of the scheme. For example, if you take the central government, they will also have a healthcare scheme, while the state governments will also have a state-specific healthcare scheme. For example, if you take the Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana, the ratio of the funding is 60:40 in case of most states, and here the 40% will be provided by the state government, and here the state government has to provide 40% for this. At the same time, they have their own healthcare scheme, and this will result into duplication and extra strain on the resources. And the next is a coverage gap, especially providing pensions and all. And the next is administrative inefficiency. So the overlapping of the regulations or overlapping of the rules can lead to confusion and administrative inefficiency. And physical constraint, like I mentioned in the case of the Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat, the central government will have a scheme, and for that also the state has to spend, and the state will have their own specific scheme, and for that also the state has to spend. This will lead to more constraint on the fiscal policies. And the next is populist measures. So we know that we can see that certain states will increase the pension when the election is near. The certain states will provide freebies when the pension is here. When the election is here. So these type of populist measures will not ensure the sustainable solution for the problems. So to avoid these populist measures, we need a unified welfare state. And the next is citizen inconvenience. For example, the overlapping of the regulations or rules or protocols can lead to confusion. So it will be difficult for both administrators as well as for the citizens. And coming to the key features of a unified welfare state, it is based on one nation, one social security governance, and single social security identifier. That means Jan Dhan account or Aadhaar based identification, and digital integration. For example, the MG Narega, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. So the digital integration, through that we are providing the benefits to the workers in the scheme. And the next is rights based approach rather than populist based approach. And the next is portability. So we can see that if you take the case of the Ayushman Bharat itself, you can access the benefit from any part of the country. And the next is the intergovernmental coordination. So a strong coordination between the center and the state government has to be established to deliver the welfare schemes on time. And coming to the global examples, we have the unified social assistance scheme of the welfare of the Brazil, where it is a centralized scheme, but it is implemented with the assistance of states and municipalities. And in South Korea, they have an integrated pension and health service under the national agency. And in the case of Europe, they have a European social security models where it will provide a cross-border portability within the European Union. So these are the major features and benefits of the unified social security scheme, and it will be the benefit of the unified welfare state. So we know that it is a time where we can see that because of the minimalist nature of the states, the welfare of the people has got affected, and it is also sometimes driven by the populist measures. So to address these type of problems, we need a unified welfare state, but at the same time we also need to consider the upcoming political implications of this plan. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's current affair analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button, give your feedbacks as comments, and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time update from Shankar IAS Academy. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for listening to me. Have a nice day.